So, you want to launch a subscription box and don't know where to start? Girl, you are in the right place. I'm Julie Ball, a subscription box coach, and your host here at Subscription Box Basics, a podcast for new and aspiring subscription box entrepreneurs that want to avoid overwhelm. So grab a coffee, some pen and paper, and let's have some fun. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Subscription Box Basics. It's me, Julie Ball, your host, and I am really excited today to introduce you to a friend and colleague of mine, Paul Chambers, who is the co-founder and CEO of SUBTA. So SUBTA might be new to you guys. So if so, stick around for this episode because we are going to tell you how the Subscription Trade Association can help you as you are growing your business, whether it's for finding vendors or getting training or just networking with your colleagues. So I would officially like to welcome Paul to the podcast. Hey, how's it going?
What up, Julie? Thanks so much for having me. And I've got this really fancy soundboard, so let me get the audience applause.
Yay! That's so
First time I've ever used that, so it was very exciting for me.
It was shocking and amazing, and I'm sure it'll just change lives.
Yeah, absolutely. It just makes me feel great. That's all, really.
Good. Well, cool. So I met Paul a couple years ago. I've been going to the Sub Summit for years now, and it's so much fun. We're going to talk a little bit about that later. But first, I want you guys, your listeners, to have a chance to meet Paul, hear a little bit about his background, and then we'll tell you what SUBTA is all about. So Paul, would you tell us a little bit about your background, both before SUBTA and now what you do?
Ooh, yeah. So it's a long storied history ranging from, starting selling candy in fifth grade and building up, launching my first real business in middle school and continuing to grow into there. I like to tell everybody I've got 23 years of building subscription focused businesses because I started with building websites and starting a hosting company at the same time, and then grew into all sorts of different enterprises over the course of those 24 now going on 24 years. And where I'm at today, though, is focus on the subscription, direct-to-consumer subscription community with SUBTA. And was just sort of almost like stumbled into it. And you know how like some of the best businesses are launched by happenstance in some cases? Yeah. You talk to this person who leads you to that person. And that's really where a lot of this came from. I met Chris George, one of my SUBTA co-founders, over dinner one night. We just got to talking about the internet and building businesses. And at the time, and so I tell you, I've done like a lot of weird different things. I was running a chain of gourmet popcorn stores. Okay. And I had like 5 different stores. And so, we were talking, he's like, you should be doing that online. I was like, yeah, I'm a franchisee, but I might, be breaking away from that, or that might be ending. And maybe we should launch an online popcorn business. So we started talking about that. And it didn't quite, it kind of came to fruition, but we failed at it miserably. Just, we all
have the failure stories. It's great. I love that you said that.
Yeah, no, I mean, the popcorn stores themselves are like a whole nother podcast, I'm sure, on failure. But we tried that. It didn't work out. And then we eventually reconnected and he came to me with the idea for Gentleman's Box. And he and John had been talking about building the Gentleman's Box. And I was doing, and I still have a website development agency. And at the time, so I was building websites, and I said, I love the idea. I will help you guys build it if you're interested in giving up some equity in exchange for that. Mm-hmm. We eventually agreed to that and came up with a good arrangement that worked for us. And we built and launched Gentleman's Box. And I think it was like 2 years into building that we said, let's find a conference we can go to, meet other like-minded subscription box owners. And because Chris and John had this, hey, we're going to go to this e-commerce conference and we're going to go there. I'm like, guys, there's got to be like a subscription conference, right?
Right. Because we have our own lingo and we have our own problems and things that we want to talk about with our colleagues.
Absolutely. And guys, this has to exist. So we're like Googling, didn't exist. And, crazy, stupid entrepreneurs. I'm like, let's just make a conference. That sounds easy.
Of course.
No, it's definitely not easy to do. But we took on the challenge and we gave ourselves like 30 days to like build this subscription box conference in 2016. And we somehow miraculously pulled it off. I mean, we were like, the thing that's really hard to explain to people that aren't entrepreneurs is the roller coaster of emotion your day can be as an entrepreneur. And I know you can relate to this, and I'm sure your audience can relate to this. You can have like the best moment in one day. and then like go to like just the bottom of, that roller
Like
coaster.
crash and burn. Yeah.
Later that day. It can just be, and we had those moments building out the first conference. We had like a big name speaker lined up to come and speak with us. And all of a sudden they just backed out, and there's like the thing just blew up.
Oh no.
And we're like, oh my gosh, how are we going to get people to come to this? How are we going to like bring this community together? We've committed to this hotel, to like food and beverage and all this stuff. And later that day, Liz Cadman from My Subscription Addiction emails and says like, hey, I've got Katya Beecham from Birchbox. She says she's happy to come and speak. And Michael Burkham from FabFitFun, I think he's in too. We're like, no way. Two of the biggest names in the subscription industry at the time were on board for coming to Detroit, Michigan, because we wanted to hold it close to home. The very first conference, we're like, it'll be easy to get to, everything else. So somehow they agreed to come to Detroit in 2016. And we pulled this event off and pulled 200 people into a room. And
I remember that because I launched Sparkle Hustle Grow in Q4 of 2016. And all that summer and that fall, I was putting all the pieces together, Google searching, watching all the YouTube videos, just trying to put together my business. And I remember that Sub Summit came on my radar, and my husband lived in Detroit. Well, not in Detroit, outside of Detroit. So Michigan, for quite a while. And I had been up there once or twice, and I was like, oh, this would be really great. But I wasn't all in on my subscription box yet. It was still kind of a side hustle. I hadn't broken a profit quite yet either. So I couldn't justify to my family, like spending this money to go to the Sub Summit. So I watched from afar. I remember following as you guys would announce your speakers, and I had all this FOMO. I was like, oh, no, I'm missing out. But then I got to go the next year, and I got to be on stage the following year. And so I've just loved following along. But I have a quick question. Did you launch the Sub Summit before you launched the trade association then?
So that's our little secret. We actually did. And it was funny because, and not really a secret, we talk about it a lot, right. But it was a funny thing because we launched the conference because we wanted to bring people together. And we were right after that first one, we were sitting with a PR consultant and friend of ours. And he's like, you guys should find a trade association to align with. So that way you could maybe be their conference. They could send people to you. Like, oh yeah, great idea. More Googling, didn't exist.
Nothing.
We're like, guys, like we absolutely loved the energy out of the room in that first event. Like it was like the highest high coming out of the end of that event. And I remember sitting there. It was funny that first night after the conference, and Michael Burkham's like, you guys, like you've got something special here, bringing together this community, and everyone was being so helpful to each other. Mm-hmm. And people from similar businesses that would either fight for share of wallet or fight for customers, helping each other, giving advice. And we knew we needed to continue that experience outside of the event. And so it was with that kind of like, you guys should find a trade association to align with, and that energy we felt saying, we need to help bring this community together even more so outside of the event. And that's when we created SUBTA, the Subscription Trade Association.
Okay, so tell everybody what SUBTA is and what your mission is, and I mean, obviously, why they need to join. And we'll give you guys a special discount code. What is it? The Sub Summit's coming up November 11th. Is that right?
Yep, November 11th to the 13th. Yeah,
okay.
And you gotta wait all the way to the end of this.
Yeah, you gotta wait to the end.
Special discount code, or just fast forward. But we prefer you wait and listen. I hope it's going to be. I know it's going to be value to keep talking to you.
So tell us what SUBTA really is.
Yeah, so SUBTA was created and still is. We're the largest direct-to-consumer trade association for subscription commerce in the world, and continue to stay focused on the D2C space. And our goal is to help build, shape, and empower and catalyze the subscription commerce industry. We have various different offerings and different things that we do. We've got a SUBTA Slack channel. We've got a unique Facebook group. We provide endless amounts of content. And it's something, admittedly, we're continuing to work on and continuing to build out, building out tools, offering, Bulu Group has a great calculator to help you calculate how to build a subscription business that we've integrated as part of our SUBTA Premium membership. We have a free membership that people can join just to get involved in conversations and be part of it.
And that's a great place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what, we played with a bunch of different models when we launched the trade association. And ultimately we found we just want to help bring, let's find ways to bring people together. And if there's things that we can do to provide additional value and they can subscribe to the trade association for getting that additional value, then great. If not, we're so happy in just helping bring people together through that free model and creating that community. So we're really excited to be continuing to grow that.
Awesome. So you can go, listeners, to SUBTA.com for that information. Paul, if someone goes to SUBTA.com, where would you say was like the best place to start there? Because there's a lot of good information on there. So giving them kind of this place to start, I think would be really helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. So logging in, when you log into your account, there's a lot of, articles that you can check out. I think one of the biggest benefits though is that Slack community that we have, and we do have a great Facebook group as well. Both of those will kind of play to different areas and what you're looking for. But the Slack community, we see so many awesome conversations happening out there. Somebody will pose a question of, how do I, what's a good fulfillment method for looking at, this or that. And you'll get guys like Matt Aravallo, who was one of the co-founders of Loot Crate, chime in and saying, here's what we did. He's a licensing wizard. If you ever want to do licensing, you can message Matt direct and ask him about licensing. Right, he will talk to you forever about that, And so there's some really cool opportunities in there that you could save all that time of wondering and researching and Googling how I do it. And you can go right to the experts and people who have done it at scale. And like yourself, have some awesome conversations with you, even, Julie. Yeah,
and access is half the battle, because so often when we're starting a new business, any entrepreneur knows this, it can feel like you're on an island. Mm-hmm. And so having that network of people to just ask questions to is so impactful. Okay, let's talk about the upcoming Sub Summit, because I can attest, you guys know how to throw a party. We have so much fun when we go to those events. Now, granted, it's 2020, so the event is virtual this year. And we just participated in the Women in Subscription event, and it was virtual, and it was amazing. You guys brought energy. I had so much fun networking there. So I can't wait to see what you do with Sub Summit. So can you tell us a little bit how that's going to pan out this year being virtual, and maybe a little preview of what to expect?
Yeah, so it definitely is challenging in the virtual world. And you'll hear this from anybody. Virtual is definitely not the same as in person. And when COVID first came down, we were set to go, our conference was set to run the end of May. And we initially kicked it out to November, these November dates here, and thinking like, oh, okay, yeah, COVID will eventually go away. We know it's not. And so in that interim time, we said, all right, let's do a smaller virtual event and talk about companies that were experiencing challenges during COVID. And that was Subscription Innovations. We did July 30th. And it was a one-day event. It allowed us to learn a little bit more about the virtual environments, how they work, and produce content that would be helpful for people at that time and see what worked and what didn't. And about the same time as well, I realized in doing just some research out there and looking at the space as a whole and looking at our responsibility and our position as SUBTA in the space and saying, the women in subscription is really underrepresented. And we as SUBTA have a responsibility to help, propel the community and help empower the community as well. Thank you. I've got 10-year-old daughters, and I'm experiencing right now and how I help them grow as young entrepreneurs or doing whatever they want to do. And so we saw an opportunity to help create this event in a virtual fashion right now as well. And that was Women in Subscription. And so we launched that one. And through those two virtual events, and we're hoping to take Women in Subscription to be an in-person event next year. We'll see what happens, with COVID and making sure everybody's safe and bring the community together. Yeah, we're so excited. And so through those two virtual events, we've learned some kind of like best practices on how we can create experiences as best as possible in these ways. And so we're going to do that with Sub Summit, November 11 to 13. We've got some awesome sessions lined up, some awesome topics. We're doing some fun things like Get.Club sponsored a comedy club that we're going to put in the expo hall. And so you can go in, and that'll be like on-demand content you can go and watch. And they're like, subscription box focus and subscription focused jokes. So we recorded it actually the other day. So that way it's like an on-demand segment. And the comedians were so funny, and it was really good. So doing fun stuff like that. We've got some like live chat opportunities. We have different networking lounges that people can go in. So if you want to talk about just about fulfillment or product procurement or data and analytics or customer retention, you can go to those specific lounges, because we realized like one networking lounge was a little too much crisscross in topics and conversation. So let's create focused networking lounges. And doing those kind of things. And then we're really excited. Simran Dua, the new CEO of My Subscription Addiction, she's going to be doing a live appearance. So with most of our content, we pre-record a lot of it just to help ease the burden on the day of the event, especially over 3 days. Like I'd My family wouldn't want to see me because I'd be so cranky. So what we're doing is a lot of that's, pre-recorded to help set it up so that way we can get it going out there. But then Simran is going to be actually joining us live from the expo hall on November 12th. And she's going to be taking questions. I'm going to be interviewing her and pulling up questions live and asking about customer obsession. So one of the things that My Subscription Addiction really talks about is, how having a very customer focused experience can enhance that and help improve customer retention and help enhance acquisition. And so she's going to be taking those questions live from people. And then there's tons of awesome sessions too that we've got in there.
Yeah, I really look forward to that session. I'll be tuning in for sure. Are you going to use the same platform as you did for Women in Subscription?
Yeah, so it creates like a really cool virtual lobby. We, for this one, we expanded it even more. We integrated the SUBTA sound so people can go and check out some of the various content options we have in there. Eric Music from the Subscription Box Show podcast, introducing a special session into that. James McKinney from Startup Story, we have a special session that he recorded that's going to our SUBTA Sound Studio, our virtual one. And then we have our SUBTA library that people can go into. They can click into. It looks like a real library, and then it's got links off to some of the subscription books out there. Robbie Kellman-Baxter's book, Kara Golden's new book that she just came out with. So trying to create these experiences, and it's cool. They look like these little virtual rooms that you can click around and click through and be part of an experience. And then the virtual expo hall. We have, when you're in person, the largest expo hall in all of D2C subscription commerce in person at Sub Summit. Done the same thing in the virtual world as well.
That's so cool. Listeners, let us paint a picture here. This isn't like your typical summit where it's like everyone jumps in a Zoom room or, it's just like this basic video. This almost feels like video game-esque, where you can navigate through to the rooms that you want to go to because that's where the sessions are or that's where the networking is. So it's a really unique setup. And what's great about that is it keeps you engaged. It keeps you like looking around, seeing where you want to hang out. And so I'm really glad to hear that you're using that platform again. So quick plug, I heard you talking about books. Did you know I'm coming out with a book?
I see that there now. That's exciting.
It's called Subscription Box Basics, a 30-day plan to get your box idea off the ground. And it's a workbook. So it works you through getting your idea ready to move into pre-launch. So that's coming out in the next couple of weeks.
That's so exciting. Well, then once we wrap up this podcast, I want to talk more about that because I think there's some awesome things we can do together on that.
Right on. See, people, that's how it's done right there.
Yeah, exactly. And you're great at that, Julie. I think, it's funny because we oftentimes forget about, and you talked about this at the Women in Subscription event, just making that ask. Yeah. And, you obviously didn't ask right there. You're showing it. We're talking about it. It was very topical and we celebrate that. But when the very first Sub Summit happened, the reason we were able to bring in Katya and Michael and help build that event is we just asked Liz, like, hey, we're putting this event together. We want to get you involved. We think it's beneficial for everybody. And this is the pitch I always make to anybody I'm ever talking to about Sub Summit is it needs to be beneficial to everybody involved. I often say like building an event is like a wedding on steroids. Because the wedding, the bride and groom, that's all you care about. If your guests don't like the steak, who cares, right? Screw them. As long as you've enjoyed every aspect of it and it's been special for you that day, then that's great. But with an event, our focus is on making sure the speakers are getting value. They're showing up and they're able to meet people that they wanted to meet. The attendees are getting great value. They're seeing the exhibitors that they want to see. They're learning about services that they want to learn about. They're hearing speakers that they want to hear. And then the exhibitors, of course, and the sponsors, they want to generate business from it. So we need to make sure that the right people are in the room and the right opportunities for conversation are happening. So it's a very complex thing. And that's why I say it's really hard to build an event. But I think one thing that's really worked for us well is we didn't have event builder backgrounds. So we didn't have like a rubber stamp that we brought in. You
weren't boxed in.
Yeah. Pun intended.
Yeah.
Right. So we didn't have this like preset notion of this is how events are run. And you have this session, you do that. Like we come up with some cool, unique and creative ways to do things. Like our after party, we don't give people drink tickets and say like, oh, we had bar. Who cares? It's just an open bar and come in and have fun and here's some great food and provide ways for people to talk. And admittedly, we're still always learning. We're always finding ways to get better. And we were a little bummed when Sub Summit 2020 couldn't happen because we had some fun, cool stuff we were gonna roll out. But we'll save it for the next time here.
You guys have such a knack for creating unique, memorable experiences. My team and I still talk about walking the red carpet with Captain Jack Sparrow. It was so much fun. He took pictures with us. Like, it was one of those unexpected moments where we were all moving into, was it the dinner time, or we were
Cube
moving?
Awards.
Yeah. Into the Cube Awards. You're right. And we got in line to get in there. And all of a sudden we realized there's paparazzi surrounding us. We're walking on a red carpet and Captain Jack Sparrow is taking pictures with us. We're like, we never would have thought about putting that at our event, but it was the most amazing experience. We laugh about it still to this day.
Yeah. And that was a fun tie-in for the sponsor, Pirate Ship, which was the sponsor of the Cube Awards that year. And we wanted to find a unique way for them to get exposure. And I'll tell you this, the red carpet was all Chris George's idea, as much as I'd love to take credit for it. Because the Cube Awards for us, the first year we ran Cube Awards was 2017 in Austin. And if you look at my notes, I'm not the onstage guy, I'm the behind the scenes guy usually at the events. And so if you look at my notes from that year, and I think I saved them still, it's like just a bunch of curse words all over, because I care so much about the production value and the experience. And it was just like, we're kind of figuring it out. We're fumbling our way through a little bit. We had a couple of people on stage. Some people were standing, some people were sitting. I'm like, oh my God, this isn't the experience. And every year we've gotten better at it. And so going into 2019, Chris George says, I want people to show up with like tuxes and black tie affair and, just like all big. I'm like, I don't know if we can demand that out of people yet, but let's create that experience. Yeah. We invested more in our lighting and sound and made the stage great. And the room had that feel when you walked into it. Yeah. And he said, let's make a red carpet. And so we went out and I don't know how much we spent on this red carpet. It weighs a ton and it's sitting in our warehouse still right now, but we bought this huge piece of red carpet, bought a bunch of stanchions on Amazon.
Paparazzi.
We hired some paparazzi to come into the event. And then we had our video guy out there, my brother doing, the interviews as the MC. Gosh. And we just wanted to create this experience because it's an event to honor everybody in the industry, and everybody should feel special as they're walking in
and have fun.
And feel that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, tell everyone what the Cube Awards are.
Yeah, so the Cube Awards are our annual award ceremony. We're on our 4th year of our Cube Awards now, and we're going to do our best to make it just as fun in the virtual world. It's going to be November 12th at 4 p.m. in our virtual environment is when they'll air. And the Cube Awards honor the best in the industry. And over time, the awards have continued to evolve in the categories. We slimmed it down a little bit for virtual this year, but from best subscription box to best pet box to best digital subscription, best media subscription. And we have our nominees, and we narrow it down and announce the winners at the Cube Awards.
And am I allowed to announce that I'm a guest judge?
Yes, you can share that. You're a guest judge. Absolutely.
This year, I was honored to be a part of the team in choosing the Cube Awards. And it was really interesting to see the back end of how it works, of how we look at we're asked to look at the boxes holistically, not only from how they present themselves, how innovative they are, and ultimately how their customers see them. And it's so important to look at it from all those perspectives, because as the business owner, I could just look at it as like, what do they put in the box? How are they executing? But it's so important to look at, the customer's delight and the reviews and stuff. So it was a really good experience being a guest judge. So thank you for having me on that.
Absolutely. Would love that. And it's because you get to see you see so much, Julie. You're so involved in this world, and your opinion is so meaningful to that and helps truly, make it a worthwhile selection in what we're looking at there.
Thank you. And I want to tell everyone real quickly too, going back to the point about collaborating and just asking, I remember very specifically when you guys did, I think it was 2017 or 2018. I can't remember exactly, but I remember reaching out to you guys, cold emailing you saying, hey, I'm Sparkle Hustle Grow. This is what I run. I would really like to be on your stage for Sub Summit. And I remember getting on a call. I was in a parking lot. I had to pull over to do the call. I remember this, but just pitching myself and pitching my background. And that's and look at us now, we're on a podcast together. I'm a guest judge. This is one of those collaborations, one of those business relationships that started with a very simple ask where I said, how can I get involved?
Yeah. It's amazing, how, and I love the hustle too at that time and just, reaching out to us, and it worked, it's like, oh, this is just doing really cool things. And this is really neat what you were building. And at the time, and it's amazing. We could talk for hours on the asks, and I'm amazed sometimes, like the people that I'll email and the responses I'll get back.
Mm-hmm.
Like I emailed Kara Golden, CEO of Hint Water, last night about something.
Oh, yeah.
She responded to me at 1 a.m. 1 a.m.
Because she's a hustler. She's an entrepreneur. That's what we do.
Yeah. No, she just came out with a book, Undaunted, and it was been really fun reading it. And actually there's another book that she was in, I think it's 21 Women Who Rule the World.
Cool.
And I was doing a video interview with her, and I was just telling her at the end of it, we had wrapped everything up, and I was like, Kara, that book's awesome. I'm going to go on Amazon right now and order it and start reading the stories to my girls at night. And she's like, hang on, I'm going to send you one. And literally like the next day it arrived in the mail with some Hint water for my kids, because they all love Hint water.
Nice.
And, it's just like, it's just really cool to, those people, just, again, I think we talked about this earlier before we started, just good people that you meet out there in the world. And it's fun to have that community.
Yeah. And I might be biased, but I think we work in the best industry in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because there's so much, you can get wine in this space, you can get some food, you can get awesome things that inspire you every day.
Right?
Like it's endless.
You can get anything.
Yeah. Clearly I need a razor right now. It's a little scruffy here, so I could get that in subscription. It's amazing.
Yeah. That's so funny. Okay. So to wrap this up, everyone can go to SUBTA.com to join the trade association, but we told you we had a special code for you. Tell us what the code is and what discount it's going to get our listeners for Sub Summit.
The secret code is Sparkle.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah. So if you go to subsummit.com and you can register for a premium ticket, use the code Sparkle and you'll get the ticket for only $50. And it's you get a welcome box with it. You get access to the VIP networking lounge. You get all the sessions to watch as much as you want. We learned a lesson from our first couple events that when we had 2 tracks running, it was hard for people to decide where they wanted to go. So we're only doing 1 track in this one. But we know that everybody can't tune in for the entire thing. We got things going on in our days, and virtual events aren't the same. Your phone rings, you walk away. So this
We've got to homeschool your kids. And
yes, that too. As I left this morning, I left a laptop at my house this morning because my son couldn't get on his Zoom. So I got him on through my laptop, and so like things come up, the world happens right now, especially. And so you'll get that as well. So we'd love to have you, anybody listening.
Yeah. And I'll be there. I hope to see you guys there. Paul, thank you so much for joining me. This was a super fun conversation. I really am cheering you guys on. It's so good to have the trade association and just the fun events that you guys put out there and the resources. So from us to you, thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much as well, Julie. Mutual Admiration Club. Absolutely love everything that you're doing. Truly admire it. And, yours is everything you're doing is one that I talk about with my girls at night too. We lay in bed and talk about like business things. It's a really, it sounds like an odd like parenting style, but I don't know. It's fun. And we connect on that. So
and it's part of the DNA of your life. And I get it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Right on. So thanks again for joining me, listeners. Again, head over to SUBTA.com, use the secret code SPARKLE, and I hope to see you at the event. Guys, thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode.